This is the theme for a show about food. They'll be chopping and dicing and simmering too. There'll be various ingredients mixed all together in various amounts that she doesn't quite measure. There's pots and there's pans and some knives and a sink, and once in a while an alcoholic drink. So watch when you can and you'll learn something new about spices and rices and some kind of stew. And this is the part where we tell you the name of the show.
Hi guys, welcome to Fatkid. I'm Jen Jacobs and I am going to make breakfast for us today. Today I'm going to show you how to make crusted French toast with two topping choices. So I'm going to show you how to make a fresh tart Granny Smith apple topping and a peanut butter bananas Foster for that. Also, I'm going to just show you really quickly how to do a nice candied bacon to go alongside. I realize that I always have a million ingredients and that can be intimidating. But what I will tell you is that these ingredients laid out are for everything I just mentioned. So you really only need the ingredients you're going to use when you make it. If you just want the French toast and you don't want the fruit topping, great. So that eliminates a bunch of ingredients. You see where I'm going? The first ingredient is just plain old cornflakes. Don't need the name brand, just get the generic, does the job. Some beautiful brioche bread. I'll explain why I like this later. Lots of brown sugar, some nice fresh bananas, some nice tart, fresh Granny Smith apples, some pan cooking spray, some vanilla, heavy cream, nutmeg and cinnamon, lots of butter, some thick cut applewood smoked bacon, some walnuts, eggs, salt, some peanut butter whiskey, a little bit of actual peanut butter. I put out some real fresh maple syrup just so it's there. I'm not going to use it in the recipes, but if you want to have it over top, you can warm it on the stove with a little butter. It's delicious. I have some honey roasted peanuts that I'm going to crush up and put over top of my peanut butter banana Foster, and some nice Tennessee whiskey to put in my tart Granny Smith apple topping. I've lined my cookie sheet with some aluminum foil and sprayed it with some pan spray so the bacon doesn't stick. I've laid my bacon out in a single layer, trying not to overlap it, and I'm gonna put it into a 400-degree oven for about 10 minutes. Then I'm gonna check it, take it out, flip it, top it with my brown sugar, and stick it back in the oven to finish. Okay, so it's time to check our bacon. I'm just gonna take that out. Okay, nice. I also, if you have a hot spot in your oven, you may actually just want to turn the pan as well. But I'm going to flip my bacon here and then I'm going to put my brown sugar on it. I'm also going to rotate the pan. Okay, so on goes our brown sugar after we've flipped our bacon. You can be pretty liberal with this because you're candying this bacon. And all of it's gonna melt down into the pan and mix with the bacon fat and get salty and sweet and chewy. So good. This stuff is not gonna be something that lasts very long once you make it, because everyone loves this, unless they're not a fan of bacon, and then they're just wrong. You can see I have a good amount of brown sugar on this bacon. So the tricky part here is you have to babysit this recipe just a little bit at this point, because you don't want it to get overdone and have the sugar just burn and scorch. On the other hand, if the bacon is underdone, it is not a nice bite. Now I'm going to show you how to put together the custard. So I'm just going to start with 4 eggs. I use jumbo. I just do. I don't know why. That's just my jam. So there you have it. So I'm just going to whisk my eggs up a little bit before I put my cream in. Okay. So I have 2 cups of heavy whipping cream. Whoops. Just pour that in. This is not a diet recipe, girls, so don't be dainty. I'm going to use about a tablespoon of good pure vanilla extract. It's probably a little more than that. There you go. I'm gonna do a tablespoon of cinnamon. And a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. A good healthy pinch of kosher salt. Then you want to whisk it up. I'm also going to add a little bit of brown sugar just for a little bit of sweetness, and then I'm going to show you how to put together our outer layer. So this is at the 7-minute mark. As you can see, it's still not ready yet. So I've turned the pan because where it was starting to get a little black. I'm gonna put that back in, give it another 7 minutes and see where we're at. So I've got 3 cups of corn flakes here. I'm just gonna add a teaspoon of cinnamon, a nice pinch of salt. Close it up. I don't recommend putting this in the food processor for this. I think having irregular pieces and not just dust is better for this recipe. So I'm not slamming down on it. I'm just kind of coaxing it apart. So now that I have my custard and cornflakes all set for my French toast and my bacon still in the oven, I'm gonna take the opportunity to prep my apples in advance. I can do that because I happen to have lemons. Just a little bit of lemon juice on apples will help them from oxidizing and turning brown until you're ready to use them. So I'm gonna show you how I break these down. So this is how I like to cut the apples. You do it however you like. I'm just gonna show you one. So I cut the top and bottom off and just run the peeler along the outside, obviously, just like that. I'm gonna do them all at once and then go to chopping them all. That's just how I do it, but again, you can do it any way you like. So this is what I do with the apples. You can do whatever you do that works for you. This is just my method. I don't like to bite into that core piece. So I just take a melon baller, just get rid of the stuff at the top and the bottom of the apple. Sometimes the apple like shreds a little bit, it's fine. You can cut it also any way you like. I like to do thin slices. Some people like chunks, it doesn't matter, whatever. So just cut your apple in half, hold it together like this with your fingers tucked under, and then just slice it up, thin slices. You can, again, it doesn't matter, as long as you reach the level of doneness that you want with your apples, you should be fine. So I've got all my apples peeled, cored, and sliced, but I'm not quite ready to use them, and I don't want them to oxidize and turn brown on me. So I'm just gonna hit them with a little shot of lemon juice, coat it up. The acid in the lemon juice keeps the apples from oxidizing while you're waiting. So I'm just gonna toss those up, make sure they're nicely coated. Try and get all of them, you may not get them. And the thing is, even if they turn brown, you're putting them into essentially a caramel, so who's gonna know? So I have a cup of walnuts. I'm just gonna put these into a storage bag and break those up a little bit. These are going into our apple topping. So it's been another 7 minutes, and it doesn't look like our bacon is quite there yet, so I'm gonna put it in, but at this point I'm gonna be checking it every 2-3 minutes. Don't be afraid of this char on the outside. As long as that char is not completely on your bacon, you should be good. So I'm gonna put this back in and just keep watching it. God, I need some more coffee. Just like Mom used to make. So our bacon looks ready. It's been about a half an hour total, but every oven is different. So you just kind of follow those guidelines and you should be fine. So I'm gonna take this bacon and lay it out on a cookie sheet and a cooling rack that I've sprayed liberally with pan spray so the bacon doesn't stick as much. But I just wanna move it over so it sets up. If you leave it in the pan, it's just all gonna become one entity, and nobody wants that. Ooh, see? I have a friend. So now I'm gonna show you how to put the French toast together. I've put a liberal amount of butter on my electric griddle. If you're doing this at home and you're just using a skillet, that's about medium high, but you have to monitor it because you don't want it to burn. And on this, I think we're at about 275. So I'm just gonna show you now. This is brioche, it's slightly sweeter than regular bread, and I just like it for this dish. So I'm putting it in my custard very gently. I want to make sure the custard has an opportunity to soak through all of it, but it can't fall apart on me. So you got to be really gentle. You see all this? Now I'm going to take it from my custard, put it into my cornflake mix. Just push it down like I do with my chicken parm. Get everything coated up nice. Make sure you have a generously buttered skillet or griddle and right down on there. So I'm making 6 pieces because it's just my husband and my son and myself. But you can adapt the recipe to fit more people if you like. I like to add more butter while it's on the griddle because the butter cooks and gets nice and brown and toasty, and it makes this taste even better. I'm ready to start flipping my French toast, but what I like to do is make sure I get a little bit of butter down for that second side. Whoops, hold up. So I just take it and flip it onto that butter, and I do the same thing with all of the rest of them. If you don't want to do this step, if it's buttery enough for you already, that's fine. It's still going to be delicious. But you want to see it getting all crunchy and a little darker, and that's when you know that it's time to flip. You do want to make sure this is cooked thoroughly. There are eggs in this. My French toast looks perfect. So now I'm going to transfer it to my cookie sheet, just like this. And make sure I turn off my griddle. And then I'm going to transfer this to the oven and make our apple topping. So I'm melting a half a stick of butter in my skillet here. I'm using non-stick, just on a wing and a prayer, because this stuff is very sticky. So this is going to all melt up. I'm going to add less sugar because I don't love sweet stuff, and I really want this to remain tart and cut through the richness of the French toast. So I'm going to start at about a 1/4 cup. You can go up to as much as a 1/2 cup or even 3/4 if you really like it sweet, but I definitely wouldn't go any more than that. So it's about medium heat to start anyway, and then you can monitor what's actually happening. I'm going to turn this up a little bit because I want to see this little sizzle, the bubbles in the butter. I want to have a little bit of that. And I'm also going to throw in these nuts to toast them up a little bit in the butter beforehand. So I'll show you that. All right, so I'm going to throw in the nuts first. And just coat them in my butter. Hold on. Just coat everything. You hear the sizzle? That's what you want. Just for a few minutes. You just want to get them a little bit toasted. Listen, I could eat just this. Butter and walnuts, and it's just a fat kid's dream in here. All right. Now I'm gonna add, this is a 1/2 cup of sugar, but I'm just gonna add about half of it because I don't love things overly sweet. So let's start with that and see what we do. This is a very off the cuff topping, but I think that stuff like this should be. I think you just see what you have in your house and make yourself, try it. See what you can create. They're not all winners, trust me. Mine have not all been winners at all. So I'm going to give this a pinch of salt now. Good pinch. And then move this over. I'm going to add just a little bit of vanilla, about a 1/2 teaspoon. And I'm going to add my apples. There's a lemon seed in there. We'll push that aside. Okay. Now let's get these coated as quickly as possible, because then I'm going to hit this with a little shot of some Jack Daniel's Tennessee Honey Whiskey, which is delicious all on its own, or even in coffee, but I wouldn't know. So the apples are really starting to release some of their juices, and I just want to add some cinnamon now. There we go. So that's about a tablespoon. And just toss that around. This just, it just smells like Christmas. I don't know. It's so yummy. Now, I like my apples to remain on the tart side, and I also like them with some bite left in them. I don't like a mushy apple, but you can cook them as far as you want. But when you get your apples to the point where you're about good with the texture, you're gonna wanna add your whiskey. So let me cook this down a little bit more, and then I'll add my whiskey and show you how to finish it up. My apples are where they want them, so I'm just gonna add my whiskey. There you go. And I also wanted to say, I ended up adding more sugar, just a little bit, and I also had to turn my temperature up to almost high. Every stove is different. You know yours, just go with your gut. It's really fine. This is my finished product, so I'm just gonna transfer this to a dish and put it aside so I can do the bananas Foster with peanut butter for you. I have melted a half a stick of butter in my pan. Now I'm gonna add my 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. I always use light brown sugar. You can use whatever you like. Just gonna get this all melty. My pan is on a very, like a medium high setting, because this is a really quick one. Okay, so it's looking good. The sugar looks like it's kind of starting to melt and bubble up. Now, this is traditionally, as I said, done as a flambe. It's also done with cinnamon, but because I'm using peanut butter here, I'm leaving the cinnamon out of this recipe. If you don't want to do the peanut butter, you can do it traditionally with some spiced rum and some cinnamon instead of the peanut butter whiskey and the peanut butter. So peanut butter in. Don't worry about it if you can't get it all out. It's about a tablespoon of peanut butter. Let me just wipe my hands. And we'll stir that in to melt. Now, while this is melting, once I get it incorporated, we're gonna turn this way down. Wow, that smells great. And turn this way down. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna add my alcohol first because the alcohol needs to cook out. So keep it high. And pour in 2 nips of your peanut butter whiskey. This has to cook out though. Please don't serve this to your children until the alcohol is cooked out. So stir that up. Turn it way down, just for a minute. And then we're gonna go slice our bananas really fast and get them in here. Putting my bananas into our caramel. My God, this smells good. But here's the thing. I hope at the very least, this inspires you to play, to try new things. It's okay to play around in the kitchen. It's okay to fail. That's how you learn what works and what doesn't. So this is just gonna cook another couple minutes on high heat, and then I'm gonna take my French toast out of the oven and show you how to serve it up. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you how I top this French toast. I'm gonna top mine with a little bit of everything because I like variety. So I'm just gonna put some of these beautiful apples and this juice and the walnuts right over top of these 2 guys right here. For me, I don't care if they blend a little. It's almost like a peanut butter and jelly effect. So I'm gonna take my bananas off the stove because they're done. The thing about this sauce is if it seizes up on you, just put it right back on the stove top and heat it up and it'll come right back for you. At least it usually does for me. So that is gorgeous. And what I like to do with that is top it with some crushed honey roasted peanuts for crunch. Then I'm gonna put some of my delicious candied bacon in here and nestle those guys right in there. How's that? And I like to always have some fresh fruit with my breakfast. So I'm gonna have, and it makes the plate prettier too, I think. So I'm just gonna have some pineapple, raspberries, and blueberries. Just like that. And because it's Sunday Fun Day, what? I hope you make this recipe. I hope your family loves it. Please continue to watch and like, and please share my videos, and keep the suggestions coming.
Honey, how you feeling? I made your breakfast.
Jason, I had the strangest dream. I had a cooking show, and well, you were there, and Danny was there, and Ellen, me too, and I was trying so much to get the recipe done, and I guess it doesn't matter. All right, well, you go ahead. I'll get myself up and I'll meet you in the kitchen. Crazy. Oh, okay. Oh, he did make me breakfast.